In this video, I would like to go over indices. Let's understand everything about it and let's solve some IGCSE past papers. If you follow me here, by the end of the video, you will be very good at indices. You will understand how to manipulate the questions. So the first rule is x to the power of 0 equals 1. So if it's 5 to the power of 0, it's 1, 10 to the power of 0, x to the power of 0, it's just 1. The second one is x to the power of n times x to the power of m equals x to the power of n plus m. This repeats a lot in the IGCSE and IB exams. So how the question will look like? It will look something like this: 5 squared times 5 to the power of 5, for example. So the rule says just add these indices. So it's 5 to the power of 2 plus 5, so it's 5 to the power of 7. And that's it. But the question is, why? Why should we add? It's multiplication. Why should we add this? Let's try to visualize this. 5 squared is 5 times 5, and 5 to the power of 5 is 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times. So now if we calculate this, if we just count them, it's 7 fives. That's why it's 5 to the power of 7. So we add. The next one is, if it's x to the power of n divided by x to the power of m, just subtract. So it's x to the power of n minus m. So if the question is x to the power of 5 divided by x to the power of 3, so it's x to the power of 5 minus 3, which is x squared. Again, if you want to see that, so there are 5 x's multiplied together divided by 3 x's. Now this cancels this cancels that, and this cancels this, so you will end up by x times x, which is x squared. I hope it makes sense. That's why we add and that's why we subtract. Now these are main 3 rules in indices. Now the next one is, if you have 2 indices, so for example this x to the power of n to the power of m. If you have 2 of them, the rule says just multiply them. So it's x to the power of n times m. So the question will look something like 5 squared to the power of 6. So it's 5 to the power of 2 times 6, which is 5 to the power of 12. Why do we multiply? It's your turn. Try it and answer this question in the comment. Why do we multiply here? Alright, now the next rule is, if you have a fraction question and your final answer was 6 over 8, you don't leave it like that. You simplify the fractions, right? So it's just 2 over 3 over 4. If you divide both by 2, it's 3 over 4. So this is what we do. We simplify. So similarly, for indices, we need to simplify. So if you have a negative indices, we don't leave it like that. If you have a negative power, for example, if you did x to the power of 2 divide by x to the power of 3, and you got the answer to be x to the power of 2 minus 3, because we subtract, right, which is x to the power of negative 1. So the rule of indices says make it 1 over x, and this is our next rule. So if it's x to the power of negative, just a second, so let's do it here. The next one, if it's x to the power of negative n, just make it 1 over x to the power of n. So this is the next rule. X to the power of negative n is 1 over x to the power of n. So if your final answer is x to the power of negative 5, just make it 1 over x to the power of 5. Always give your answer in positive indices, not negative ones. Now, these are most of the rules, and that's mostly everything about the indices. Now, let's have a look at some of the examples. One thing you need to know, is in the exam, they will not just give you one of these rules. No, there will be 2 or 3 of them in the same question. Now let's look at this question here. If I ask you to do x to the power 5 times x to the power 4 divided by x squared. Now this is the multiplication, the product rule, divided by the quotient, which is the division rule. So I'll first do the multiplication up there. So I'll have x to the power 5 plus 4, and then that's divided by x squared. So it equals to x to the power of 9 divided by x squared. And then this is x to the power of 9 minus 2, which is x to the power of 7. Another example is if you have 5x squared k all to the power of 5. Let's just make it 3. What you will do here is you will first split this 3 to each one of them. Give this a 3, give this a 3, and give this a 3. So your question will look something like this. 5 to the power of 3, x squared to the power of 3, and k to the power of 3. And then 5 to the power of 3 is 5 times 5 times 5, which is 125. X squared to the power of 3 is this rule. If you have two indices, you multiply them. So it's x to the power of 2 times 3, which is 6, and k to the power of 3. These are the types of question you may expect to see in the IGCSE and the IB and many of the curriculum that teach indices. Now, let's have a different example. Now, what if I have the square root of 5x squared to the power of 4, for example? So the first thing is, we should know that the square root of x equals x to the power of a half. Whenever you see the square root, it's just the power of a half. So now instead of the square root, I write the power of a half. So it's 5x squared to the power of a half to the power of 4. So again, what did I do? The square root, I replaced it with the half here. And the 4 stays, and the 5x squared stays. Now we have two powers, we have two indices, so we multiply these two. So it's going to be 5x squared to the power of a half times 4. Now this is multiplying fractions. A half times 4 is just half of 4. So you'll have 5x squared. Half times 4 is 2. Now this is another rule inside the same question. So we split this here, we split that there. So you'll have 5 squared x squared to the power of 2. So it's 25, because 5 squared is 25. X to the power of 2 times 2, which is 4. And that's your nice answer. This is a nice question. Now let's just have one more question to do, and then we finish this video. Now, what if you have 330 x squared k to the power of 3 divided by 15 x to the power of 5 k. So now here we will take each part by itself. So this part here, 30 divided by 15 is 2. Now x squared divided by x to the power of 5, I'll just try to visualize this to help me. So this is x times x, and x to the power of 5 is x times x times x times x times x. Now k to the power of 3 is k multiplied together, divided by 1k. Now this is the easier way. You can also do this. So these two x's cancel these two x's, and this k cancel that k. So I'll end up with 2 up there. We don't have anything here. We have 2k is k times k, so it's k squared. Down here, these are cancelled. This is cancelled, so we have 3x's multiplied together. So it's x to the power 3. And that's our nice answer. How exciting. Now, it's your turn. Can you please try to solve this question? I'm writing one question for you. Comment your answer, please. It's not going to be challenging. Let's see if you can do it. So the question is, what if you have 5k squared y to the power 5 times 2k to the power 3 y to the power 10? What's the answer? Can you please comment your answer? And thank you for following. That's all for this video.